Okay, test, test, just checking to make sure the microphone works. Okay, checking again. Check, check. Okay, hey guys, I'm going to welcome you to Going Live with Quizlet. I'm going to present about a new system called Quizlet Live. My name is Stacy McGough, and I'm a fourth grade teacher at Bullock Elementary, and I hope everybody can hear me. And I have with us on moderating John Belts, and he is PE teacher at extraordinaire at North Lake. And so I'm gonna go. He'll be there to answer your questions, and I'll be here to share with you Quizlet Live. Kind of give you a second. I have right here. Whoops, wrong thing. I have right here my presentation. If you want to go and copy down that goo, it will always be live. So that way, if as you're going through and working on something, you say, "She said something about," I don't remember, then you can always go back to that goo. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about it. So we're going to go on. We're going to talk about, first off, what is Quizlet? Well, Quizlet is an online flashcard system. It's a digital way for students to create any kind of flashcard. It can be a math fact, it can be vocabulary. My teenage daughter puts her lines in there. So on one side, she puts the line before hers, and on the other side, she puts her line. And that's how she quizzes herself for her lines. So there's a lot of uses to Quizlet. And if you haven't checked it out, then definitely do that because it really has some neat uses. With the study, they call them study sets, is what you do. Students and teachers can create study sets for themselves. It's a Google program, it's a Google login. So all of our students can just log in with their Google accounts. It makes it real easy. Um, it has in their study set, you can add text and images and audio. And I'm not going to get in too much in how to make Quizlets. I'm sure there are online webinars. You can go and search Quizlet that show you how to make them. But it's really cool because you can type a word in and it will generate an image database for you. And you can pick which image you want to go with that. So you don't even have to go find your own images. When the kids play, there are seven different ways that they can quiz themselves just by learning, using them as flashcards. They can write, spell. So this would be a great spelling test. They can take their test on Quizlet or practice their test on Quizlet. They can test themselves. They can play a matching game, or then they have this game. It's called Gravity. My kids enjoy playing that. I've included a GUI here to log in, and that way, if you do decide you want to purchase, you don't have to, it's all free. But if you like it so much and you're like, well, I want those extra bonuses, then you get a discount if you go through this GUI right here. And so that just kind of helps you out. I know I ended up going ahead and joining just because I liked some of the extra features. Like I said, it didn't break the bank. I think it was like $30, $40 to join. So it wasn't too bad. And this is kind of what their screen looks like when they go in to look at their cards. And they've got those independent study activities. They can write in the spelling, the test, and it gives them what percentage they got right the last time. And then the time games with a group leaderboard. That would be the gravity and the matching game. Okay, now Quizlet Live is another one of those. It's not shown on here, but right over here to the side, for the teacher version, you have Quizlet Live. Students do not have access to create a Quizlet Live. Only teachers can. Okay, so Quizlet Live is an in-class, team-based learning game. Okay, it's and I forgot to say something. Let me finish it. Students work together to correctly match Quizlet set terms and definitions. It's all about collaboration. The students have to work together or they will not succeed with Quizlet Live. And that's one of the things I really like because it can't be just one person taking it over and answering because of the way they have their answers set up. And I lost what I was going to say. With Quizlet and Quizlet Live, There's not grading. You don't really come back with a grade. On the test, I believe you can see a grade, but as far as all their other practice material, it's more to practice and give you an idea of where maybe you need to do some reteach. So it's not going to be something that you're going to set up and the kids are all going to do and you're going to take a grade on it. And there are a couple things in there you can get grades from, but their Quizlet is all about using this to help kids review. And what I like about Quizlet Live is because when you're done, it tells you where the kids got hung up. And I'll show that to you so that you know where oh, I need to go back and reteach this, or it'll even say they confuse this for. So it lets you know if they're confusing two things. Like I used Quizlet Live the other day with my class, and we were looking at the properties of multiplication, and they were confusing commutative, and associative, the two different properties. And so it was allowing me to go and have that time to talk to them about that so that they knew what was going on. Okay, to play Quizlet Live, you need a study set with at least 6 unique terms. So you only have to have 6. You can have more, you can have as many as you want. And you only have to have 4 students. So this would be good for even a tutoring group. If you've got 4 kids, get them in there and let them play. They do all need their own device, but it can be a computer, a Chromebook, a tablet, a phone. Any of those will work. And Quizlet Live also is very quick, so you don't need to set aside a whole class period for this. This could something that could start your day. The first 10 minutes of class, do a quick Quizlet Live. At the end of class, review over what you just did, do a Quizlet Live. So it doesn't require a lot of time to do that, to do Quizlet Live. So now I'm going to kind of show you what Quizlet Live is and how it works, because until you actually see it working, it's kind of hard to understand. Okay, so you're going to first create a study set, and then you're going to choose the live. Remember that slide I showed you a minute ago? Oops, right here. There's a button right here and it says live, and you just click on that to create your live game. When it does, it pops up and it asks you, do you want the kids to see the definition and they have to identify the term, or do you want them to see the term and they have to pick the definition? So you can change it up for your kids so that they have to know both of them. I did this with multiplication facts, and I put the answer up, and they had to identify the multiplication fact that would give them that answer. And that game went a little slower than if I had just put the fact up and they had to pick the answer, because then they're having to work backwards and they're having to really think about, well, which of these equals 36? The one drawback with that, if you use anything with numbers, do make sure you don't have like 2 answers that have the same number. Made that mistake. And then the kids are all like, but Miss McGoff, it is 36. And well, it was 9 times 4, and they were picking 6 times 6. So, make sure you have different numbers. So that's as hard as it is to set up. Setting up the study set. And again, like I said, there are, I believe, videos online that show you how to create a study set through Quizlet. And so you can go, and by online, I mean through the I3 training, webinars, classes. So you can go and see those. Okay, so then you just have your game, you're ready to play. The kids are all going to go to Quizlet.live. They have to type that in, and then it'll give you a code. Here's my code. Before you start the game, it'll have that code real big on the screen. So here's the code. The kids just join and they type it in, and they type their name. You can have them type aliases, or you can have them type their real names. This is up to you. Once the kids all get in there, then the game, they sign them up as different animals. And one thing that's really cool is it has a big giant picture, like at the stingrays, it'll have a big giant picture of the stingrays. And so what the kids do is they need to get together in their teams. So they have to stop and find the other people that have the stingrays. Here I set up one and I just call them test 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those were not real students. That was just for me to get my screenshots of it. But the kids' names, so they go look and they're like, stingrays, stingrays, come on, all the stingrays over here. And so they get together. Generally, I found that it puts them into groups of 3. The one thing I don't like is if you have an odd number and it doesn't work out, they'll put one child by themselves. So that's one of the things I'm going to contact them and say, I don't like that. Can you fix that where you just make one group of 4? But I don't know how they do that. We usually are able to work it out, and almost every time I've played, I end up having where it's a divisible number, so it works. So they try, like I'll have 21, and they try to set them up. If you don't like how the teams are started, you can click right here on Shuffle Teams, and it'll shuffle them. One day I sat there and they were being so loud and crazy. I shuffled the teams. They're sitting there looking around, and then I just kept shuffling them until they finally stopped. And they were like, "Wait a minute, what is going on?" And so they stopped and they were like, "Miss McGough." And I said, "You know what? If you're not going to listen, I'm going to keep shuffling your teams." And so then they got quiet and they listened. And so then they got into their teams. And I will tell you one thing, I didn't say this before. My kids, when I say we're doing Quizlet Live, well, first off, when we make flashcards, they know Quizlet Live is coming. So they get very excited and they focus on getting their flashcards done. But if I create the flashcards and send them to them, then they get real excited when they hear the flashcards are coming because they know that we're playing Quizlet Live, and they sit there and after every game they're like, just one more game, Miss McGuff, just one more game. Like I said, I have fourth graders, and so they get excited, and I have a feeling the upper grades would have a really good time with this too. When you get everybody in their teams and they're all situated, you start the game. And then what's going to happen is it's going to pop up on the screen. I have 2 different screens here. I have test 1 and I have test 4. Those are the 2 students that I have set up. If you notice, 1 has totally different answers from 4. So this is the beauty of Quizlet Live, is they have different answers, so they have to discuss with each other. When it says the amount of space an object takes up, they have to talk about what is that, and then they have to see who has that answer, and they click on it, and that's where it makes them have to work together because they have to have that discussion because they can't just say, oh, well, I don't have it, so it's got to be a solid. And they can't just click on it. They have to figure out because they know the other person may have the answer. And it's real cute. My kids usually are in teams of 3. And it's real cute to watch them. They'll sit there and they'll go, I don't have it. And somebody else say, I don't have it. And they go, you must have it. Find condensation. Find condensation. And they'll start looking. And all of them are gathered around that computer trying to find it. So, because they get real excited and they get extremely competitive because as they get a question right, then up on the board, you put this up on the screen and it's got your 2 teams and it shows how many questions they've answered. In this case, they have to get to 8 questions. Every time I've played it, because usually we have about 21 kids, and so they usually have to get to 12 because there are 4 questions for 3 kids, so 12 questions. And so they answer a question and you watch them and they immediately look up at the screen. Where are we in the leaderboard? Where are we in the leaderboard? And then my favorite part is when they sit there and they watch each other and I give a play by play and I kind of do a like the like a oh, I can't think of the name, horse race. And they go, oh, sharks are in the lead. Sharks are up by 1. Okay, can the stingrays come? Come on, stingrays, can you answer? And so I do the little play by play. And so they're sitting there having to focus on their questions, but they're also wanting to listen. So it causes them to really have to think as they're working. And then, so they go, and then a new question pops up. Well, that answer where they just picked, that answer is gone. So now they know they have 7 answers left, 7 choices. So they read this one, and they have to answer it and look at it. And so they keep going. They have to keep playing. Then the really cool thing about it, if they miss a question, they can be all the way up here to number 7, and they miss it, drops them all the way back to 0. And it's great, especially in my play-by-play. I'm like, the sharks are in the lead. The sharks just fumbled, and they're now back to 0. And the kids all get all excited. I had a team the other day when they were playing that they were like on question, I think it was question 9, and they missed it because somebody was anxious and they didn't pay attention. And so they answered it wrong. Well, the whole team was like, stop doing that. Don't answer. So they get after each other. You don't even have to corral them. They take care of each other. And so they drop back down to 0. And then they were like crazy people trying to get these answers right and building back up. And they ended up winning the game. So it was really fun to watch them. So they have to keep doing this. So every time they do that, it resets their board back to all the words again, or all the vocabulary terms again. So they're constantly reviewing those words. So if they drop it down, they then have to see all those same questions again. So that review is constantly there. And like I said, they just have a blast. Then what I love, this is my favorite part of it. At the end, the kids can see this when they finish their game, but I can also pop this up on the screen and say at the end of the game, what were the most missed questions? And we look at them and we can figure out here they miss physical change. So we can talk about that. So we can have a conversation before we start the game again. Because we replay these games several times. I don't just do it one time. We replay until they're all getting the questions right and no one is missing any. And then we talk about, because it says initially confused with. That means most of the kids, when this popped up, when it said when object state of matter changes, they were picking melting as the answer. So then I can have that conversation. Well, what is the difference between a physical change and melting? So that opens up that discussion. And if you have more than one question, you'll arrow through all of them to go over it. And then it gives you a chance to, do you want to do it again? Or do you want to do a new slide deck? You can pick a new slide deck. Or, like I said, I do these over and over again. And my kids sit and beg to do it over and over again. And each time I do, I put them into new teams. So that way they're constantly learning. You just have to go where it said shuffle the team. When it comes back, you just click shuffle team, and then you can just redo it again. So that way they're constantly getting that information, and they're constantly practicing, and they're constantly listening to other friends and other people. And we're getting close to the end here. This went a lot faster than I thought it would. There are a couple of programs that work with Quizlet, and I think I'm going to take you to my Quizlet. One of them is Pear Deck, which I call, it's kind of like, we can't think of that one, Nearpod. It's like Nearpod, but it's a little bit different. But they have what is called a vocabulary factory. This to me is the coolest thing. I set up you go to Pear Deck, and I set up my cards, and then I set them up as a vocabulary factory, and then we open it up. The kids are then given the cards, and they have to add an example of what it is, and they have to draw a picture. And then at the end, you approve whether or not you like those, and the kids then can, those are featured into their slide deck when they start working with it. And then it also works with Google Classroom. You can set it up to share through Google Classroom. And so let me real quick, I'm going to show you what the Pear Deck looks like. I don't have this real quick, but let me, since I have a minute. Here's this is Quizlet. They have diagrams too. That's brand new. It's really cool. I think that's more middle school, high school aged, but it's still kind of neat. But here are my matter words that we just did. And then, oh, it doesn't have never mind. I have to go to Pear Deck, I think. Flashcard, here it is. My flashcard factory set. And so it has the words, and then it has, these are the approved pictures that I picked. And so you can see here they talked about what a fair test. And so they said, well, they drew a picture. Well, our water fountain fun activity, that was our fair test that we did. So then they drew a little water fountain. So they have little clues to help them remember. And you can approve, like here's the whirl. And so they drew the whirl fingerprint. It's kind of sad, but it's one they did. Um, I didn't approve a lot of these. So, but the kids then have a part in giving you the words. The other cool thing is too is through Google Classroom, your kids can create an account. They just sign in. I just put the link in Google Classroom and they just signed in, and then they can create their own cards. So then they can share their cards with you. These are all me. I think it was this class that had some. No, maybe not. Oh yeah, here it is. This is the number. These are who created it. The kids here. So they can create a test and then I can share that out with anybody. Here's the live button. So I can share that out for the kids to play that game. So I don't have to sit and create the tests. The kids can as part of their review. So that's another really cool way to use Quizlet and then to share it out as Quizlet Live. And see, here's your to join your class, and you can connect it with Google Classroom, and it will pull it in, and you can pick which one. So, and I think so. We're kind of towards the end here. That's what I had. Um, like I said, it's a fun way for kids to review their activities and review your vocabulary or whatever whatever you're working on, to have the kids do that. And you can also go in here and you can search Quizlet. Like I can say, I want a Quizlet on matter, and I can pull from some of their Quizlets who has matter. So you don't even have to create it. You've got this database of materials, and you can make a copy and then you can edit. You can go, well, I don't like this this word, or we don't do this part, and you can edit it to match what you want and work with it from there. Because here you can see, here's the one. I had this one that I copied. This was this teacher's. It's exactly the same. And I just made it my own, but I pulled out one of the terms. She had a term in there I didn't like. So I just put it in there myself. So this is just really, it's a great review for kids. Again, show it to them and you'll find that they go and use it on their own. I said my daughter goes and uses it for all sorts of things. This summer, I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm entering my lines into Quizlet. It's like, okay. So John should have the chat in there. He should have the link in there in the chat, and we'll leave it open. I don't know if there are any questions, but I've got it there. If you have any questions and you want to just email me my name, I can put my presentation back up here, Stacy McGough. If you go and type Stacy, and then by the time you get to the MC, yoo-hoo, I pop up. So you can see what's going on, and email me. I'll be happy to help you and get in there with you and get it going, because I think Quizlet Live is really something fun for the kids, and I think it's a great learning experience. So thank you for watching, and like I said, that right here, my presentation, if you weren't here at the very beginning, write that down. You can come back to this presentation if there's something you want to see, how it works, or share it with somebody. Go for it. All right, so John I'll leave this open for a couple of minutes for any questions. And John says there's no questions, so we're good. And I'll leave it open for you to get that link so you can get your CPE credit. And I don't know about y'all, but tomorrow's field day for me, so I'm not real happy. I'm going to go home and go to bed so I can rest for that. So that, and we all have to recover from our late night on Monday and then Tuesday last week. So go rest and get ready to have some Thanksgiving, because it's the first day of November. All right, y'all have a good evening.